Well, hello there. Welcome back to the basement. Oh, don't mind this. You know, I'm just here with my Lee Enfield. Oh, speaking of which, does anybody remember a game called Call of Duty World at War? I know, very small title, isn't it? So, when Treyarch made this Call of Duty game, it was with very little time and so many high levels of stress. But however, through all that, they made the most influential game of Call of Duty history. Of course, that's just me telling it in the most briefest way possible. The story goes even deeper than what I literally just described. It's one sentence. Yeah, no, there's a whole article about it. So, yeah, if you want, just check that out for yourself. Now, the first guy would talk about spooky games, and the second would talk about anything game related. So, I wanted to continue the pattern and talk about one of my top favorite games. We start the game as a Marine tied up with the enemy interrogating us. Our fellow soldiers tells us to keep our traps shut, so we'll do that for the rest of the game. We eventually get saved and start going guns blazing over the enemy front. Fun, I know. So after many ambushes and nearly blowing ourselves up, we extract with no other issue. The next mission involves storming the beach, taking down forts and tanks, and advancing further into Peleliu, losing Sullivan. And the best part of this mission is the Easter egg. There are these 4 craters that are at the start of the map, where you just jump at them in a certain order and stand on the 4th crater for 10 seconds until you hear something speaking in tongues. And then, BAM! Ray gun. No, not that ray gun, why? Honestly, it's fun shooting this thing. So we'll be doing that for the duration of this mission. Jesus Christ, why? Someone get this thing off my weapon! We soon get into the jungle side of Peleliu where we can feel the morale going down. And worst of all, not even 10 minutes and we find out that the Japanese soldiers rigged the dead body with explosives ready to ambush. Nothing's sacred anymore. We keep advancing and destroying every mortar until we reach the stronghold holding the anti-aircraft cannons. Yeah, I know, it's not what it's called, but honestly, I can't remember their names. We cleared the stronghold of enemies and tanks as much as possible until the cavalry saves us. I must admit, there's something about this stronghold that looks familiar. I'm sure it's nothing. Alright, I'm ready for the next mission as a blue-blooded American. Wait. What are these? Are these Soviets? And are those Germans? Oh, we're in Stalingrad. Well, this is interesting. So we wake up on this level and see right in front of us a massacre. The Germans leave no survivors or any risks. They poke groaning soldiers to kill them quicker, and just for extra security, they shoot up the corpses with their fully automatic rifles. Actually, I'm gonna go a little bit off track here. I must admit, it's not a pretty sight, but it just shows how bad the war was. When it comes to war games nowadays, or better put, Call of Duty games, the campaign usually takes a weird approach to war. It mostly just puts on like a show, like, as if you would for Mission Impossible, or just any Tom Cruise, something Hollywood, if you will. It shows you being spies, it shows you like this big bad evil villain. Even, some banter here and there from the main cast. Like, we have characters, but not actual people. This game, and others that came before it, and even a few that came after it, showed war as it is on both in combat and out of combat. It sucks, it's harsh, the places that were once beautiful and considered homes are demolished, and the people who once lived there, who had professions and mundane peaceful lives, have now turned to weapons, all for the sake of honor, if not survival. Every soldier had a home to return to, and every home has a family waiting for their soldier to come back, at least one last time. The battlefield is even worse. Everybody is tense, gripping their service rifles and listening to every order by every ward as if it's the only way to stay alive. War is not fun. War was not a Hollywood movie. You are not special. If you're not careful, it's lights out. The most you could have done was find religion and pray that that bullet flies over you. This game does not show like a special operatives doing secret missions or fighting terrorists. It's a horror game giving the player a taste of what war has in store for poor souls like us. Anyway, that's enough ramblings of me. Let's just get back to the game. So we meet this guy named Reznov, and he's the greatest hype man we'll ever see in Call of Duty. He instructs us to shoot some soldiers before we get spotted, guides us to a safe route, and talks to us about how beautiful Stalingrad was before the conflict. We soon get spotted and run for our lives until we get captured, only to be saved by more Russian soldiers. Whee! This is the turning point. We must fight back and kill Richthofen. Amson. We get to a good vantage point, and before Amsel can escape, we put a bullet in the evil man. And then after that, we have to flee again, but with few options, we jump into the water, hoping to survive. Three years have passed, and once again, we are captured. We really need to stop doing that. But before this German puts any kind of lead between our eyes, Reznov arrives in the nick of time to save us. This won't be the last time he ever shows up out of nowhere. And this is also the time we meet another character named Chernov. Chernov is kind of the heart of the group. He knows right from wrong and the fine line between justice and wrath. Throughout the game, Chernov makes multiple interjections about killing the Germans unnecessarily. Reznov, of course, doesn't see mercy as an option. All he sees are the fires and bodies of his fellow people in Stalingrad. As far as he's concerned, the Germans are nothing but animals. The game also has this little feature that doesn't really show, matter of fact doesn't even affect the gameplay at all, but it's a nice little detail. It's about Chernov judging you throughout the game on your actions on the battlefield, whether you let soldiers die in peace or spare them when they surrender. And close to the end, you see Chernov's last written words.
April 30th, 1945. When he first spoke of Dmitri, Reznov told tales of a hero, someone we should all aspire to be like. At times, I have seen him show mercy, and at others act with complete brutality. I do not understand him. Perhaps heroes need not question their actions.
But back to the mission. It shows that we're in German soil in the countryside. We push through the farms and explode tanks and towers, weakening their defenses, allowing our forces to get closer to the Berlin. However, we come back in the next mission as a US Marine again. We find ourselves in the trenches equipped with flamethrowers and the Ping Master itself, the Grand. Of course, this is why they gave us a flamethrower with no limit and only a cooldown. We do the only thing that makes this mission easier and burn everything in our path. The task is simple, but harsh. Move through the trenches and destroy mortars. There are 3 large groups surrounding the mortars, and between each mortar, more Japanese soldiers are flooding the trenches with heavy fire. On to the next mission. We get ambushed and meet with heavy fire from the enemy. We cut as many enemy soldiers as possible, trying to take control over the posts carved in the mountain. Overlooking the beach, we see the Navy in the distance. We return to the Russian side of the war and we take control of a tank, which is nice. We destroy the towers and other tanks to get past the last defense of Berlin. At the end of the mission, Reznov sings our praises and we start traveling to the heart of Germany to finish this war. Yeah, literally that's it. You just drive a tank and you just shoot everything in path. Or burn it. Hey, I don't judge. You do what you do, man. We get to the streets and start flushing out enemy soldiers inside the buildings, and make our way to the hospital where, again, I have this weird sense of deja vu. Weird. So we take care of enemy forces inside the hospital, and we declare to the people, abandon all hope. Traveling further, we find ourselves clearing the building, until we return to the streets of Berlin, pushing the enemy back and across the street. We see German soldiers ready to surrender. It's only a shame we don't take prisoners. Crawling in a subway, we clear as many soldiers as possible, until eventually we get flushed. Oh yeah, now we get to one of my favorite missions in this game, the Black Cats. We're the air gunner lock, shooting heavily at the transport ships, leaving nothing to be recovered. Soon, we get a call to help our sinking troops and rescue as many survivors as possible. With a lot of enemy fire from Zeros and PT boats, it all seems lost. Until we get saved. Also, I love this music. Most of the soundtrack, for that matter. We're the Marines again, and with very little supply and harsh weather, we do our best to fight off the enemy. Until the very next mission, when all we get is the sack of guns with little ammo, so we resort to stealing their guns. But I'm pretty sure we all did that anyway. We make our last stand fighting waves of Japanese soldiers with very few numbers and little firepower. And depending on who you choose to save, we lose a valuable comrade. I chose to let Polanski die. Trust me, there's a reason why. At the end, we get saved and we get a sigh of relief. It's over. Until we realize there's still some loose ends. We come back to the Soviet army, catching a moment after nearly drowning. We charge ahead to the last German stronghold, attacking anybody who stands in our way. Before we enter the capital, Chernov gets killed, showing that Reznov has some grief and regret. But we can't stop now. We are too close to the end to stop now. We massacre everybody in the building, meeting with serious firepower. But we keep our heads down and stay strong. We take control of the Capitol building and get ready to plant our banner of victory. It's just a shame we get shot.
As long as you live, the heart of this island. Things will change. As heroes, we will return to masses.
We did it! We successfully took down the German forces. Everything got tied up in a neat bow, and now we can finally go home. So yeah, that was the Call of Duty World at War campaign. It was a great story about World War II. Of course, it wasn't as popular as Call of Duty 4 in terms of multiplayer and story. However, Call of Duty World at War wasn't just another World War II shooter. It was a brutal, cinematic experience that dared to show war at its ugliest. Its campaign remains a standout in the franchise's long history, both for its gameplay and willingness to treat the subject with the gravity it deserves. That being said, I'll see you on the next visit. Oh, right. The Easter egg. Nope, 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 I'm not doing this, no. This video is already long enough as it is. I'll just put a pin in that for the next video. Like I said, I'll see you all very soon. Goodbye.